Pleased to welcome and honored to welcome back to our decision maker line, Caden Cowger. Caden is a young man, been a guest on this program before, radio host in his own right. Caden, welcome back to Focal Point with Brian Fisher.
Thanks for having me on, Brian. It's an honor to be on again.
Well, Caden, the reason I wanted to bring you on is we exchanged a little bit of communication last night and again this morning about a situation at a school, I believe in Pennsylvania. It's been a while since I've read a story about what happened, but what I remember reading in the newspaper accounts that I saw, there was a day of silence there on Friday, a gay lobby out there. They've got their posters up and everything, and then, or on Thursday, whatever day it was, and then I saw these stories coming out about how there was this vicious and virulent anti-gay protest. And it was like ugly, and it was mean, and it was run by nothing but a bunch of bigots. So you're kind of aware of what happened there. So tell us the story.
Well, what happened was I first saw about it the same way you probably did. I saw this big spew of basically articles from the liberal mainstream media of where they had this huge anti-gay day that took place there. And I was sort of interested in what actually happened and what was going on there, because from what I understood, I mean, the Huffington Post covered the story, BuzzFeed, as well as several other liberal mainstream media outlets, including The Advocate, reported on this. But they were saying that there were gay students being pushed, they were being punched, they were being knocked down, that anti-gay posters were being hung on gay students' lockers, that slurs were being used, and all this other stuff. And they also said that there was even a lynch list that was being spread throughout school and everything, I guess threatening to kill some of the gay kids there. So I decided, you know what, this is really interesting. But I wonder if this actually happened. Because I started reading these articles, and on the Huffington Post, and on BuzzFeed, and all these others, it said something that was really interesting. There was not any proof. They were just allegations. They didn't have any substance to back up what was going on, and a lot of the remarks that they were making in these articles, a lot of the accusations, were based off of the claims of one bisexual student. And, you know, and this same student has been going from website to website. She gave an interview to BuzzFeed, gave an interview to The Advocate, and it's the same student. And, you know, that sort of triggered something there. And I'm thinking, okay, is this really what happened? Or is the liberal mainstream media trying to twist this around and make it into this big anti-gay, hateful event that took place that's full of bigotry? Well, anyway, I decided to look up some of the students that attend this school, and I looked up one of the lesbian students that was there, and there was a link to her Tumblr page that was on one of the articles that I was reading, and there was an interesting picture. This was even more interesting. This was the best part. There was a really interesting picture on there about that had a Christian student that was a part of this event, and one of the things that this is important as well, they all wore flannel to show that they were unified in supporting traditional values. But they took a picture of this Christian student who was wearing flannel, and this LGBT advocate, whoever took the Snapchat photo, drew a male genital on his face, drew male genitalia on his face, and then put anti-gay day my ASS. And so that's cyberbullying right there, and that's also a violation of McGuffey High School. That's the high school that took place at McGuffey High School's policy regarding bullying and cyberbullying. And not only that, McGuffey's school systems also state that you are not allowed to use your cell phone during the school day in district buildings and on district property, which that also was a violation of. So you have two things that were in violation there, where a Christian student who was standing for traditional values was bullied, and there, for some reason, there isn't any proof of where they bullied any of the gay students. So I found that very, very interesting.
So this is a group of students that were standing for traditional values, and I want to explain in just a second what they did to show their support for traditional values. But what we're discovering now is that apparently the low information media picked up on one person's accusations. There was no substantiation for these accusations. There was no corroboration for these accusations. They were picked up and they were repeated and they were amplified as if they were fact, and there isn't any substance to these accusations. Plus, it turns out the people that are making these accusations or are part of the gay crowd at this high school, they're the ones that are actually engaging in the bullying. So you've got this, you got these students, they're wearing flannel, they're there to support traditional values. How did they do that?
Well, what they did, they all wore flannel, and they just all showed up the next day. And the really fascinating thing about this is that, and this is one of the reasons why it sort of got my attention, the liberal mainstream media has tried to say that young people do not support social conservatism. They are not socially conservative. That's a thing of the past. They want gay marriage and all this other stuff. And then we have an incident like this that takes place. That caught my attention very good. And anyway, what they did, basically a group of grassroots, there was a grassroots thing, Christian individuals gathered together, Christian students, and decided, how can we show our support for traditional values, for our faith, for Christianity? And they decided, all right, you know what, we're going to wear flannel shirts and go to the high school the next day, or the next school day. And anyway, the next day came, and a whole bunch of people, up to 50, it was actually the media reported it was up to 100. From reports that I've found, it's been around 50, and I'll get to that here in a minute. But a group of students went up to the high school wearing the flannel, and they, instead of like where the gay posters were at, because there was a whole bunch of GSA posters that were professionally printed all over the school walls.
And this is GSA, Caden, the GSA. Hang on a second. We need to make sure people know what GSA stands for. That's Gay Straight Alliance, so that's a gay club on campus.
Right.
So you got all these professionally printed posters for the GSA. All right, go ahead from there.
But anyway, there was they had professional posters hanging across all the walls, and these students decided to take little pieces of paper and write biblical scriptures on them and post them underneath of the GSA posters. So that's what they did there. So this thing about the lockers posting anti-gay posters on gay students' lockers, not true. And if it did happen, it was probably because a GSA poster was on one of those lockers. So that's what actually happened here. So they weren't targeting gay students. From what I've found, they instead were just posting biblical scriptures underneath of the pro-homosexuality propaganda posters. So that's what happened with this case.
So that's basically the equivalent of these little Post-it notes that were just put beneath these posters, and they just had Bible verses on them. They didn't have, they weren't calling homosexuals names. There was no bullying, no name-calling, no threats, no abuse, no pushing, no shoving. They were putting Post-it notes underneath these professionally produced posters promoting homosexuality with just Bible verses on them. And that got turned into this monster, vicious, horrible anti-bullying day where homosexual kids were getting shoved up against lockers and kind of pulverized by these mean-spirited Christian kids. And it turns out it wasn't anything like that at all.
And see, here's another thing that's important to point out, too. The primary thing that has caught people's attention regarding this discussion about what happened at McGuffey High School is that there was allegedly a lynch list that was passed around. Now, the real fascinating thing about that is that yesterday evening I managed to get a hold of one of the parents of one of the students at McGuffey High School and also talked with one of the students there who helped organize it. And he gave me an account of what had happened from what he had seen and everything regarding it. And he basically, and the position that they have is that they believe in loving the sinner and hating the sin. That's what they explained to me. So there wasn't any hate about it. But the thing is that in a lot of these articles that have been posted, the primary thing that they pointed out is a lynch list thing. And according to the school's website, this is coming from McGuffey High School's website right there. It says, let me pull it up here. Okay. It says that, again, the rumored lynch list reported in the media failed to surface during our school and criminal investigation. So they didn't ever find a lynch list that is being claimed by all these organizations.
So the most plausible explanation for that is the reason they didn't find it is that it doesn't exist. There was nothing to find.
Yeah.
So somebody just fabricated that. So somebody just fabricated the existence of that list, repeated it, and the lapdog media grabbed it and ran with it.
Mm-hmm. And another thing that's interesting, McGuffey High School also pointed out that it was a small group of students, not hundreds, that some outlets reported, and they were just exercising their rights as citizens to express their points of view. Readers and viewers picked up part of the story from the news media, allowed emotion to cloud judgment, and initiated a large-scale campaign against our district, individual students, and individual employees. That's coming from the official McGuffey website. So, I mean, right there, they are revealing that the media twisted this story into being a big gay bashing event, when actually it was just an event of where Christian students expressed their religious beliefs and felt that because this is what that student told me that I talked to yesterday, they respected their day, but they wanted to have a day for themselves so they could express their right to voice their opinions. And because of this, a lot of these Christian students have been locally harassed. They have received death threats from LGBT advocates. One of the death threats included 2 individuals on social media who were threatening to hide behind the bleachers at McGuffey High School and assassinate the Christian students. And we have obtained that. And I mean, it's just really outrageous because it appears to me that it was the LGBT students at this school who were bullying the Christian students, not the other way around.
Yeah. Like to get more information about Caden Cowger and his work, you can go to CowgerNation.com. That's Cowger, cow like the animal, G-E-R, CowgerNation.com. He's even got a story right up there on the front page that gives the details about the event that we just talked about, CowgerNation.com. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. And one thing this illustrates that hate crimes against homosexuals are so rare, they have to be invented. This is another example. There was no bullying here. There was no cyberbullying here. There was no physical contact. There was no shoving of people up against lockers. There was no cursing. There was no epithets. There was no anything. There was no bullying of any kind. These were students putting Post-it notes with Bible verses underneath posters pushing and promoting the homosexual agenda. That's it. That's all it was. And it got turned into this thing that had no relationship to reality in any way, shape, or form. All of it manufactured, fabricated, repeated by a hysterical media. And you know the reason they do that is these hate crimes against homosexuals, these instances of bullying. I'm not saying they never happen. I'm not saying that. But they are so rare, they have to be invented. And then when the low information media picks up on something that looks like it could be a case of bullying against homosexual students, they just take it and run with it. And they amplify it, and they repeat it, and they magnify it without confirming even one single accusation that is contained in their story. So once again, hate crimes against homosexuals are so rare they have to be invented. The hate crimes in this circumstance were committed against Christians. You've got cyberbullying. You have physical threats. The bullying was done against the Christian students, not by them.